Part 44. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 431. King Qinji, what do you mean? When everyone saw Su Xian put away the formation, their facial expressions could hardly be controlled. It seemed as if he was saying, show it to everyone. But no one dared to say anything. They could only look at Su Xian eagerly. Besides, it was a private transaction between King Qinji and the Queen of the Elf just now, and they seemed to have no right to say anything. Everyone, I will give this formation to my disciple Xian Yuan Qing first. Su Xian said, if even she can't do it, we will discuss it together. Do you have any objections? It is refined by Qing Shen, and we certainly have no objection. Qing Shen is the honorific title given to Xian Yuan Qing, the only demigod-level alchemist in the alchemist world. At first, only alchemists would respect her as Qing Shen. Later, this title became more and more popular, and everyone followed suit. No objection. We believe in the consideration of the Thousand Machine King. We trust the Thousand Machine King to do things. Everyone said they had no objection. The master and apprentice were the strongest kings in history, and the other was the strongest alchemist in history. How could they dare to object? Okay. Su Xian stood up and glanced at everyone. All troops, listen to my order. Immediately, block the 36 super cities on Lulan Star for 1 month. If you still can't find a way to break the formation within a month, then take a strong attack. Yes. Under Su Xian's strategic arrangement, the leaders of each army set out and simultaneously blockaded the 36 super cities on Lulan Star. Just standing 500 miles outside the city, they felt a strong sense of oppression. If they attacked the protective formation by force, without the top king to withstand the pressure, it would probably result in the destruction of the entire army. They finally experienced the hardship of the 10,000 races on Lulan Star. In the past, when Lulan Star launched a war, it was always by force. If it were not for the absolute military advantage, it would be almost impossible to break the protective formation of a super city. Lulan Star's previous victories were really won with life. On the other side, after Su Xian got the elf formation, he returned to Blue Star. Xian Yuan Qing did not go with the army in this war, but developed new things in the alchemy laboratory in Longdu City. With the help of Chaos Stone Fusion, she overcame many difficulties that could not be solved before. The Blue Star Alliance even gave Xian Yuan Qing the right to mobilize global alchemy resources at will, just hoping that she could develop stronger weapons during the war, to reduce the casualties of the soldiers. Ding dong. Xian Yuan Qing, who was immersed in the experiment, was suddenly interrupted by the doorbell, and a surge of anger surged in her heart. Who? What's the matter? She said that during the experimental stage, no one should disturb her. Qing, it's me. Su Xian's voice sounded. Xian Yuan Qing's expression changed at the speed of light. She forced a smile, waved her hand, and opened the door of the laboratory. Teacher, why are you here in person? She was very surprised. Since the war started, the teacher rarely visited her laboratory. Usually, she would take the experimental products to the teacher to ask for credit. Qing, how is your research on the formation? Su Xian asked. It's quite familiar. Xian Yuan Qing nodded. Alchemy contains a lot of things, and alchemy formations are also an extremely important field. I am currently involved in both. Only by mastering everything can we go further. Su Xian smiled. Then what are the recent research results? There are a lot. Xian Yuan Qing had already made preparations. He would keep a copy of each successful experiment and give it to the teacher regularly. This has become a habit in his alchemy career. In the dirty laboratory, only the exhibition cabinet on the left wall was clean and bright. There were every sample she wanted to give to the teacher, and they were carefully numbered. She always wanted to give the teacher something better. But her strength did not allow it. The only thing that can be done is this respectful ritual. As long as it can win the teacher's good mood, it is worth it. Teacher, come here. Xianyu and Qing excitedly opened the display cabinet and brought out a basin. This is the latest chicken soup, you taste it and try the effect. Su Xian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The chicken soup was all over his face. He took a sip, and his expression didn't change. How is it? It's still so hard to drink. As for the effect, it's definitely not going to work on me. You have to let your junior brothers and sisters and Xiaoli try it. Okay. Xianyu and Qing was not disappointed, and showed Su Xian the other experimental products one by one. From the level of the experimental products, Su Xian could also clearly feel that Xianyu and Qing's alchemy had improved a lot. In the past, except for the death of the puppet, the alchemy substances independently developed by his disciple could only have a slight impact on the king level at most. The threat to the entire battlefield can be ignored. But now what he has developed is enough to cause fatal damage to the king, and he has even begun to develop alchemical methods to destroy the demigod. The improvement brought by the Chaos Stone is indeed a qualitative change. Qing, the teacher has a task for you. In this way, Su Xian can rest assured to let the third brother study the method of breaking the formation. You say it? If anyone else dared to let her do something, Xianyu and Qing would have refused long ago, but the teacher asked her to do it, which is a rare opportunity. Su Xian waved his hand and took out the mysterious formation of the elves. This formation is a secret of the elves. Under the condition of sacrificing life, it can break the blood magic formation that protects the super city of all races, but the conditions are too harsh. It is almost useless in actual combat. What the teacher asked you to do is to transform it, retaining its effect while reducing its usage conditions. Can you do it? Xianyu and Qing took the formation. After a rough observation, she felt the complexity of the formation. It would be an extremely difficult task to transform it. But she likes it this way. This is challenging and can arouse her interest. Disciple will definitely not let you down. She agreed immediately. The teacher rarely asked her to do things. This time, even if she risked her life, did not eat or sleep, she must find a way to transform the magic formation. Ding, you have granted disciple Xianyu and Qing the secret elf formation. Congratulations on triggering 1,000 times the critical strike return, and you have obtained the Chaos Breaking Formation Flag. Chaos Breaking Formation Flag, the nemesis of all formations. Those who hold this flag can see through the weaknesses of the enemy formation when attacking, and can assist their own formation to reach a higher level when retreating. The system prompt sounded. Su Xian didn't expect that even this thing would be returned. There was an extra flag in the system space. Formation Nemesis. Su Xian was delighted. This thing could solve the urgent problem, but it was still a bit useless if there was only one formation flag. It would be better to give this thing to the third brother. Maybe it could give the third brother some inspiration to develop a real method to break the formation as soon as possible. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 432. Beyond the Two Realms. Deep in the chaotic universe. The two figures looked at each other from a distance, as if they were thousands of galaxies apart, yet they seemed so close. Crying eyes, the war between Blue Star and Lowland Star is coming to an end. As you wish, Blue Star will win. It's all according to your plan. It's time to fulfill the promise you made. In the chaotic void, a mask with tears in its eyes appeared, and a misty voice rippled through the stars. Ninth Divine Envoy, why are you so anxious? You should know my wishes. The war between the two worlds is not my ultimate goal. This. Just the beginning. The opposite of the crying mask is the figure of a skinny old man. I don't care what your purpose is. I just hope you can keep your promise, and I hope you can give me an answer as soon as possible. I can't wait too long. Behind the skinny old man, there was a tower that seemed to penetrate all the worlds, flashing with lightning that shook the chaotic void. The crying mask turns. Another mask emerged. Trust me, you will get the answer you want. The skinny old man stopped talking and disappeared into the chaotic void. The weeping eyes look in the direction of both worlds. Even he saw nothing. Someone blocked that area of time and space, and thousands of lives in the chaotic universe could not be seen. But he could sense that the final secret of the divine war was buried there. In the distant starry sky beyond the two realms, purple light flashed. There is also a living world there. It's called the Abyss. On the crying mask, a drop of tear fell, drifted towards the distant purple star cluster, and turned into a ray of starlight, causing the trembling of time and space. A tiny trembling sound fell on the Abyss world, but it caused a huge vibration in the 108th level of the Abyss. All the creatures in the Abyss looked up to the sky. There, they saw a time and space vortex. At the other end of the vortex was another life world, which was the best blood food. It's enough to arouse instinctive impulses in their bodies. But the vortex quickly disappeared, and only 108 Abyss monarchs could glimpse some of the mysteries from it, because they controlled part of the original power of the Abyss world. Their perception of the world is also much clearer than that of ordinary abyssal beings. Two realms of heaven. The brief trembling of space and time also caused the demigods of the two realms to fall into fear. Especially the demigods of Blue Star couldn't help but tremble. Even if they become demigods, they cannot resist this fear coming from the depths of their souls. The face of Blue Star's strongest demigod Tianwu became very heavy, and the fleeting trembling brought back memories in his heart, that was more than 500 years ago. At that time, he was just an ordinary person. At some point the sky was torn apart. The ferocious monsters with bared fangs and claws rushed out from the cracks in time and space. Schools, streets, sky, military bases, everything was destroyed by the sudden tide of beasts. His parents, friends, and lovers all died under the monster's bloody mouth. Only he managed to escape. But that would still be the shadow of his life, if it weren't for the timely rescue of the elves and the scientific and technological armed resistance quickly organized by the top leaders of the human race. I'm afraid he has already become the monster's food. Before the beast tide came, the world had experienced such a shock. At that time, as an ordinary person, he felt it very vaguely, but this time it was extremely clear. It is precisely because of the clarity that I am even more frightened. Did you feel it too? The trembling just now seems to be. Is there another disaster coming? Other demigods were also discussing in low voices, panic spreading among everyone. Why don't you think of the best? One of the demigods forced out a smile. Maybe our Blue Star army will win and the two worlds will be separated. This explanation made everyone feel better, but it still couldn't get rid of the fear in their hearts. Why don't you ask Moira to do the divination? At this moment, only Moira of Destiny can make them feel at ease, or make their mentality explode. They would rather get a happy result than worry about speculation. For better or worse. Tianbao nodded and immediately called Moira, who was in Dingai King City, but the latter did not respond. Several demigods went to invite him personally. Only then did he realize that Moira Mian had gone into seclusion at this juncture. This made the demigods feel even more uneasy. The same is true for the demigods of Lowland Star. They know what this means better than the demigods of Blue Star. The trembling of space and time just now is either the fusion of life or the separation. Either the two worlds are about to separate, or a new life world is about to connect with the two worlds through a huge wormhole. They naturally hope it is the former. The 10,000 clans are already dying. If they are separated, they can rest and take control of Lowland Star again. If it's the latter, if new enemies join in, The only way out is to perish. Above the sky. The woman who transformed into a nine-tailed fox woke up from her sleep. As the being who controls the sky of both worlds, she has a clearer perception than any being in the two worlds. She could even tell which life world caused the trembling of space and time just now. Abyss. The girl turned into a nine-tailed fox again and roared at the chaotic universe beyond the sky. If the two realms merge, it would be considered a coincidence. This time it must be premeditated. Who is the plotter? Several figures flashed through her mind. Those transcendent beings that she once stared at were killed by the teacher, and their soul particles were sealed in endless time and space. Even with the support of immortal divine power, it will take who knows how many trillions of years before he can be resurrected naturally. It shouldn't be those few. Who should it be? A figure once again flashed in the eyes of the nine-tailed fox, the eyes of the second divine messenger. She had dealt with this one. At first, crying eyes struck her as a good old man who loved peace and cared about countless lives in the chaotic universe. But now she doesn't think so. Weeping Eye's behavior is so weird. When the Weeping Eye claimed to have a place for all races to live, it moved them from the life world that was about to be destroyed to the lowland star. This move seemed to be a kind act from the gods, but it brought disaster to Blue Star. What is her purpose? The nine-tailed fox guessed, is it to promote the complete integration of the two worlds? Then why do you want to pull the Abyss world over? With the power of the Abyss now, even if the two worlds join forces, they may not be able to resist it. What's more, it is impossible for the two worlds to join forces. The situation was far more complicated than she imagined. In the game between the most powerful beings in the chaotic universe, she is just a small paper boat in the storm, and may be destroyed at any time. Teacher, where are you? She thought of the heroic figure who ruled the sky. Before leaving, the teacher told her that she would return from endless time and space, so why hasn't she appeared now? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 433. Another half a month has passed. After so many days since the time-space tremor, no new anomalies have appeared, which makes everyone feel relieved. On the 17th day of the siege, alchemist Xianyu and Qingqing developed a method to break the formation. It was a bead. It was called the Breaking Law bead. As long as there are 2 kings and 12 marquises each holding a bead, an alchemical law-breaking vortex can be formed to block the defense of the blood formation. Xianyu and Qingqing personally delivered the bead to Su Xian. Everyone in the Blue Star Alliance cheered. Su Xian was not so happy. He saw a few wrinkles on Qingqing's white and tender face, and a few white hairs were mixed in her 3,000 black hairs. Although not on the battlefield, his third disciple has paid a lot. Everyone can't see her efforts, how much sweat and blood she has shed, but only know that when she was at her peak, they hypocritically supported her and called her Qing Shen. In the master's sect, Qingqing is also a chicken soup master that the disciples dislike. But Qingqing's efforts are thousands of times more than what is shown on the surface. Thank you for your hard work. Su Xian smiled. Xianyu and Qingqing's tired face immediately forced a smile. Teacher, it's not hard, as long as I can help you, all the efforts are worth it. The more you experience the bloody battlefield, the coldness of people's hearts, the insignificant warmth in daily life can soothe people's souls. Perhaps when he first came to this world, Su Xian accepted these disciples just to get returns and make himself stronger, without too much emotional investment. But as he spent a long time together, he watched his disciples grow up and could also feel their love for him. These are all the motivations for him to fight here. The master and disciple chatted for a while, and Xianyu and Qingqing left under the escort of the Blue Star Alliance. In the distance is the Dragon Clan city, one of the super cities of Lulin Star. With the breaking law pearl, it became much easier to capture the Dragon Clan city. Under the suppression of absolute strength, they will soon be able to capture all the cities of the 10,000 clan. But Su Xian was in a heavy mood. Half a month ago, he also felt the trembling of time and space. He didn't know what that meant, but the world tree soon told him the answer. The world tree rooted in Blue Star had a clear perception of the world. The world tree said that a new world had been connected to the space of the two worlds. A new fusion might be about to begin. At this time, the fusion of the two worlds had reached a very serious level, and the scope of the battlefield between the two worlds was almost expanding to the size of the world of Blue Star. After the last siege, the two worlds might enter an irreversible stage of complete fusion. At that time, the two worlds would be completely integrated. The battlefield between the two worlds would disappear. The world would enter a state of turmoil and chaos. And at this time, the Abyss world was actually going to merge again with the two worlds that were almost integrated. Behind all this, there must be a black hand pushing it. It's just that the battle has reached this moment, and the final war must be pushed forward, and there is no room for reversal, even if he knows what is about to happen next. He can't stop it. He can only obey first. A fierce light flashed in Su Xian's eyes. He would not sit and wait for death. Everything that follows must not follow the opponent's track. He will reverse the increasingly serious situation. Attack the city. Su Xian held the breaking law pearl in his hand and led the attack with the fifth brother Miao Tian. They did not attack the 36 cities at the same time, but chose to break them one by one. After all, the breaking law pearl can be reused, but the sacrifice method does not work. In order to avoid losses, they only attacked 2 super cities at the same time. One team was led by the 1,000 Machine King Su Xian and the 8 Desolate King Miao Tian. The other team was led by the 10,000 Thunder King and the Holy Luo King. Under the command of Su Xian, the army occupied the 4 directions of the Dragon City. The dragons of Lulin Star are all sub-dragons. He has countless origins with sub-dragons. It seems that every time a phased war is launched against Lulin Star, sub-dragons are indispensable. Looking at Su Xian attacking the city, the Dragon Clan leader was ashamed. The horrific scene of Su Xian destroying the city of 10,000 races by himself was still vivid in my mind. It was just yesterday. The dragon soldiers felt that resistance was futile, not to mention that the human race had already mastered the method of breaking the formation. The defeat of Lulin Star was like a landslide. It took only a few months from the defeat on the battlefield to the end of the road now. The will of the universe is helping Blue Star. The Dragon Clan leader felt aggrieved. Lulin Star lost because of bad luck. In terms of true foundation, he would never admit that the human race of Blue Star was stronger than the 10,000 races of Lulin Star. Under Su Xian's ruthless suppression, the sub-dragon race had almost no ability to resist. The blood formation was also restricted by the breaking magic beads. The threat it could cause to him was very small. Dragon Clan. Su Xian's voice spread throughout the Dragon Clan city. From now on, voluntarily seal your strength. Those who surrender can live, and those who resist will die. The war continued. Su Xian also wanted to kill and end the trouble forever. But in order to prevent the worst-case scenario from happening, he must be cautious and leave some of the 10,000 races for the time being. Everyone was puzzled by King Qinji's intention. They wanted to tear all the 10,000 races into pieces, so why should they let these monsters live? In the 10,000 races city, the dragon soldiers had already thought about surrendering. No slaughter. Even if they survive, it's better than death. My dragon race heritage must not be cut off here. One day, we will turn over. Surrender. For the future. Countless dragons expressed their willingness to surrender. Boom. After a brief hesitation, the defensive formation of the Dragon City was completely broken. Su Xian rushed into the city alone and crushed the entire Dragon clan with his own strength. I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. Those who are willing to be sealed can leave the city. I won't kill you. If you want to fight again, you can challenge me. I'm here and give you a chance to kill. All the dragons bowed their heads. 10. 9. The sound of countdown resounded in the air. Soon, some dragons walked out, willing to be sealed and become prisoners in exchange for a chance to survive. Some dragons also attack Su Xian unwillingly. The result is self-evident. No matter how strong the dragons were, they were not qualified to meet Su Xian, and they turned into bloody rain and scattered. 5. 4. 3. The countdown became more and more urgent, and the breathing of the dragons paused. The double oppression and fear from both inside and outside made more and more dragons give up resistance, leave the Dragon City, and surrender to the Blue Star human race. 1. The countdown ended. Boom. Su Xian slashed with a sword. The Dragon City without a protective formation was instantly turned into a ruin, and buried with it were those dragon warriors who would rather die than surrender. After doing this, Su Xian did not have much fluctuation in his heart. He just ordered the Blue Star Alliance to take these prisoners back to Blue Star for imprisonment. His eyes looked to another place. Next city. He did not need any rest. This level of battle was nothing to him. His mind was now on a bigger crisis. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 434. Under Su Xian's leadership, one super city after another was destroyed. Everywhere he passed was a wasteland. Su Xian left a chance for every city. Those who surrendered would live, and those who resisted would die. Another 2 months passed. The Blue Star Army finally arrived at the last stop of the 36 super cities on Lulan Star, the Mechanical City. The Mechanical Life family represents the peak level of Lulan Star's technology. Even if there is only one city left, the Mechanical Life family did not show any fear, because they were mechanical programs first, and then life, even if they had some emotions. With a soul. But they still executed the final order. Above the Mechanical City, there was a dense torrent of elements. Under the gorgeous light of technology, they bloomed like brilliant fireworks, releasing a dangerous and charming atmosphere. The current patriarch of the Mechanical Life family, Tu Luo, was in charge of the terminal. Chaos Stone. Outside the city, Su Xian, who led the siege, felt the breath of the Chaos Stone. He has been looking for the Chaos Stone. I thought there were no more Chaos Stones on Lulan Star, but I didn't expect that there was a third Chaos Stone in this last mechanical city. Thousand Machine King. Tulo's voice came out slowly from the mechanical city. I have been waiting for you for a long time. You are indeed extraordinary. You led Blue Star to win this great war. But winning this battle does not mean the final victory of your Blue Star. Tulo's words shocked the Blue Star Alliance leaders. They knew what this meant. The space-time tremor that appeared before might indicate a new crisis. They have won all the battles these days, but they are as anxious as the defeated army. What happened to this world? Is the will of the chaotic universe really going to wipe out Blue Star? Disasters kept coming one after another, but the human race was already exhausted. After only a few days of happiness, they fell into a greater panic. The loser is not worthy of discussing the future. Facing Tulo's incitement, Su Xian didn't care. He has seen it clearly now. No matter which side wins, Blue Star or Lulan Star, I am afraid that at the last moment, the Abyss World will connect the two worlds. This is inevitable. The Black Hand behind the scenes has already planned the outcome of this war. All he can do is keep growing. Jump out of the chessboard before the chess player notices. What he can do now is to make the train track leading to the end of the chess game slightly deviate from the track that may have been set long ago. Perhaps this deviation can rewrite the entire chess game in the future. Thousand Machine King, come on. Tuluo smiled, let me see how powerful you are, the strongest king in the history of the two worlds. Boom. The voice fell. In the shocked eyes of the Blue Star soldiers, the entire mechanical city was shocked, and two huge mechanical legs grew under the city. The shape of the entire mechanical city was constantly changing. It turned into a Gundam warrior hundreds of miles tall. The warriors of the mechanical life race became parts of this huge mechanical warrior. Thousand Machine King. Layer after layer of voices resounded, I will crush you. That was the voice of hatred of thousands of mechanical lives. Thousands of lives were won, and the mechanical warriors burst out with an unprecedented sense of oppression. The Blue Star soldiers retreated frantically, and only Su Xian stood there in the air, fearless. Compared with the two, they were like ants and the bright moon. Behind Su Xian, the magic sword Apophis, the flowing star knife, and the mirror flower water moon sword were suspended. In his hand, it was the thousand machine spear that constantly gathered chaotic energy. Boom! The mechanical warrior stepped down, instantly covering dozens of miles, and with an extremely strong blocking magnetic field, forcing Su Xian to resist. As you wish. Su Xian raised his head. Fingers forward. Whoosh! The magic sword Apophis flew out with a destructive edge. The magic sword slashed out and directly penetrated the mechanical warrior's leg. The destructive aura continued to spread around, but it was soon calmed down. Su Xian narrowed his eyes. He saw that it was the power of the Chaos Stone that was repairing the body of the mechanical giant. Come again. The streamer star meteor knife also flew out. The endless pressure of the chaotic universe descended, and a meteorite that covered the sky and the sun fell from the sky, pressing down hard on the mechanical giant. You underestimated us too much. Layers of voices rang out. The mechanical giant's left hand turned into a cannon that continued to bombard the sky, easily blasting the meteorite to pieces. At the same time, countless missiles were ready in the slots on both sides of his body. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of missiles locked onto Su Xian and fired continuously. These missiles all carried strong energy to interfere with the magnetic field. They were one of the most advanced weapons of the mechanical life race, and they had caused the human race to suffer a great loss on the battlefield between the two worlds. Mirror flower. Water moon. Su Xian waved his hand, and the mirror lake unfolded. He had learned a few moves to help his wife kill the enemy, although they were far less artistic than those used by his wife. They were not so beautiful either. But it was enough to deal with these things. The missiles fell into the mirror lake and disappeared. Su Xian stood still, making it difficult for the mechanical giant to see the truth. Facing the continuous bombardment of the mechanical giant, he found the right opportunity and shot out the thousand machine spear in his hand. A long scarlet line crossed the sky. Bang! The thousand machine spear pierced directly into the head of the mechanical giant. Tuluo, who was at the control terminal, also suffered considerable damage along with his body. He still underestimated the strength of the Thousand Machine King. Compared to the last time, the strength of the Thousand Machine King was increasing almost every day, to the point where he could only look up to him. Alarm! The central system control chain is collapsing. Trying to repair. Repair failed. Emergency link plan is starting. Start failed. Suddenly, a prompt sounded at the control terminal. Tuluo felt his body go numb. His consciousness had long been connected to the entire mechanical giant. As long as the central nervous system of the mechanical giant was destroyed, he would die. Impossible. The central nervous system energy is the stone of creation given by the Great Maker. Tuluo sensed with difficulty. When he saw the blood-colored spear tightly inserted into the mechanical brain, he finally understood. There was also a fluctuation of the black vortex near the spear. The black vortex was constantly expanding and constantly devouring the energy of the central nervous system. Another chaos stone with a completely new characteristic. At this moment, Tu Luo's heart was dead. His biggest reliance was the chaos stone. He wanted to rely on the endless mechanical components provided by the chaos stone creation to fight the Thousand Machine King to the death. Now it seems that it is all delusion. The Thousand Machine King has everything they have. And what the Thousand Machine King has is beyond their imagination. Seeing more and more black vortices, the entire head of the mechanical giant was completely swallowed up, and the functions were being lost bit by bit. At the same time, his life was also swallowed up. But he could only watch helplessly. Despair, unwillingness, regret, relief. He felt all kinds of emotions as a life, and finally lost all life breath. The last voice sounded in his mind. Mechanical life Tu Luo, your life has ended. The life system is about to be shut down. Thank you for experiencing the life system, goodbye. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 435. The mechanical giant collapsed. The last city also became a ruin. None of the mechanical life race surrendered, all fought to the death, and were wiped out. Su Xian stepped on the ruins with a calm face. Killing had long made him numb. He had no waves in his heart when the mechanical life was completely wiped out. Because he knew. If the roles were reversed, the human race would suffer the same fate. On the ruins, only the Chaos Stone floated, and Su Xian put it away. Countless Blue Star soldiers looked at the floating Chaos Stone. Although they did not recognize it, they could feel that it was an extremely precious treasure. That thing could directly arouse the impulse in their bodies. If it were not for the strong sense of oppression from the Thousand Machine King, I am afraid that some mentally deficient people would have gone up to rob it. Su Xian looked at everyone and had no intention of distributing the spoils. Victory. With the destruction of the mechanical city, the battle between Lulan Star and Blue Star ended with the victory of Blue Star. Only a few fleeing remnants of Lulan Star were left. And the imprisoned captives. There was no cheering as expected, and everyone was silent. Let's cheer if we should. Su Xian saw that the atmosphere was a bit heavy, so he shouted, "We won, we won. We won. Blue Star won. The human race won." The team then erupted in overwhelming cheers. They cheered for a long time. Su Xian looked at the leaders of the Blue Star Alliance, such as King Wanlei, and said, "The follow-up work of the war cannot be neglected. Bring back the prisoners of war from Lulan Star. They are still very useful. As long as they are not particularly jumpy, you don't have to care about them. If there are those who are dissatisfied, you can use the method of killing the chicken to scare the monkey." Okay. The senior leaders of the Blue Star Alliance seemed to understand Su Xian's intentions. Without saying much, they began to organize the withdrawal of prisoners of war. Atna. Su Xian looked at the Elf Queen again. What are your arrangements next? After all, you are the native residents of Lulan Star. Blue Star was able to escape this disaster thanks to you. I don't know. The war was won, but Atna was confused. She didn't know where her destiny was. Perhaps returning to Lauren, training the next generation of elven queens, and then living alone until old age would be the best outcome. Letting her see other people again would be too ordinary, not even qualified to make her heart waver. I suggest you don't go back to Lauren for the time being. Su Xian spoke again. A new crisis is very likely to come. Lauren after the war obviously has no ability to resist the crisis. You need to talk to other races about this matter. I hope you can understand. Atna said in a deep voice, "Are you talking about the previous time and space tremor?" Yes. Su Xian did not hide it. If my guess is correct, The next connection between the two worlds is the Abyss world. The Abyss has tried various means of invading the two worlds before, but they were all resolved. It's just that this time it is a collision and fusion of the worlds, and a war is inevitable. You should also know the horror of the Abyss. It can be said that even the two worlds in their heyday may not be able to defeat the Abyss, let alone us who are already exhausted. The seriousness of the matter is before us. Atna hesitated and said, Su Xian, you should have known that the trembling of time and space is because the Abyss is about to invade, right? Why not stop the war? If the myriad races resist the Abyss together, perhaps the chances will be greater. No, Su Xian shook his head, the final result is the same. Even if we are willing to unite, the myriad races may not be willing. The process is different, but the answer is already determined. I know. Atna smiled, I believe that even if the Abyss comes, we will definitely not lose. Why? Su Xian looked at her. When did this little elf become so confident? Because of you. Atna said, I can't see any panic, fear, or other emotions in your eyes. Since you are sure, what do I have to worry about? You have never lost, and you won't lose this time. After that, Atna turned and left. Su Xian was stunned for a moment. Never lost? He himself didn't dare to say that. Atna really trusted him. The days that followed. The Blue Star Army did not station too many troops on Lulan Star. Only a few teams continued to collect resources from Lulan Star and transport them to Blue Star. Of course, all of this was within the agreement with the Peace faction. The Peace faction helped Blue Star so much, so the Blue Star Alliance naturally could not be ungrateful. At least in the hands of the current generation of rulers, the two sides have a lifelong friendship and will never do anything like breaking bridges. The prisoners of war of the 10,000 races were also all settled. There are only about 10 million creatures left in the vast 10,000 races, but this does not include the low-level monsters that are still wreaking havoc in the wilderness of Blue Star. After the victory of the war, Blue Star did not clean up the wilderness. This is also what Su Xian meant. The Blue Star Alliance did not care too much. Now they have a lot of things to do, and it is nothing to clean up the low-level monsters in the wilderness later. Dingai King City, the top of the world tree. Su Xian and Lin Suiying sat together, looking at the sunset. It has been more than 5 months since Lin Suiying became pregnant. There is already a bulge on her belly. If you put your belly close to her, you can still hear the naughty movements of the two little guys. Master, it started. Suddenly, the voice of the world tree sounded in Su Xian's mind. What's wrong? Su Xian's expression changed slightly, and Lin Suiying immediately noticed it. Although she was in Dingai King City, she also felt the trembling of time and space, and knew that the crisis was not over. Abyss. Su Xian did not hide it. He held Lin Suiying's hand tightly. Don't worry, I will solve it, whether it is the Abyss, the more terrible world, or the enemies hidden in the depths of the chaotic starry sky. I will pull them out one by one. Being with Su Xian, Lin Suiying's heart is always stable. No matter whether the sky falls or the earth collapses, she is not afraid. Because she believes that from the moment Su Xian surpasses her, this man will always protect her. With the guidance of the world tree, Su Xian saw that at the border of the sky, a faint purple air invaded the blue star. He settled Lin Suiying. Came to the polar sea of the blue star, where there were waves several thousand meters high. The blue ocean also turned purple, and the waves roared. It seems that there is a terrifying monster roaring in the depths of the sea. The strong breath of the abyss made Su Xian look tense. Is it finally coming? He had no fear in his heart, and even had some expectations, because he knew that this was the only way to unlock the secret. Compared with the previous worry and confusion. At this moment, he was confident, strong, and determined. But other high-level officials of Blue Star were far less calm than Su Xian, and even a little desperate. Purple Chi invaded, The abyss is coming. This battle? What will it be like? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 436. Abyss World, Level 32, Shadow Dragon Abyss. On the throne of the Abyss, the Shadow Dragon Lord sat upright and looked at the two figures below him jokingly. Lord Frostwood, are you sure you want to challenge the First Lord, Lord Explosive Flame? The Abyss adheres to the law of the weak and the strong. Every Abyss creature relies on its superb strength to fight its way up. The same is true for the Shadow Dragon Lord sitting on the throne now. He evolved from a weak child and almost died several times. When he challenged the previous monarch, he was almost killed, and his 1,000 years of hard work was almost destroyed. Fortunately, he won in the end and received a gift from the Abyss Plane. Right. The position of First Lord can only be mine. The man known as the Frostwood Lord spoke. Cheers erupted from the surroundings. Lord Frostwood is a super lord who has risen recently. He possesses extremely durable combat power and possesses super high combat skills. It can be said that they watched Lord Frostwood move from the last position to his current position of Second Lord. Lord Frostwood almost died several times, but he miraculously survived. He realized stronger abilities during life and death, and then reversed the situation of the battle. Now I finally have to challenge the strongest Explosion Lord besides the monarch. Lord Frostwood has countless supporters, even more than the supporters of the veteran Lord Blast Flame, because many abyssal beings see the unique temperament of the King of the Abyss in Lord Frostwood. The courage to never admit defeat, the courage to fear life and death, the spirit to never give up, the cruel and brutal methods. Lord Frostwood is respected as the miracle visible to the naked eye by countless supporters on the 32nd floor. He is a miracle worker. It is also the miracle itself. Shuangmu, I accept your challenge. The Explosive Flame Lord looked at the Frostwood Lord with purple skin, curved horns on his head, and silver scale armor on his body. The strong ones in the Abyss never attack the weak. This is also one of the laws of Abyss evolution. Lord Explosion knew that Lord Frostwood would definitely challenge him one day, but he did not kill Lord Frostwood in advance because he did not bother to attack the weak. He also hoped that a decent battle would help him break through the bottleneck and complete the final purification. Even the Shadow Dragon Lord has a crazy smile. He hopes that many of his lords will have the courage to challenge him and let him have a taste of the joy of fighting. Instead of giving up the home field advantage to find other Abyss monarchs to challenge. I will kill you. Lord Frostwood looked at the other party coldly. In this killing day, he didn't know how much time had passed, but he always remembered in his heart that Master and Xiaoshuang were still waiting for him to go home. His name is Zhongmu, Shuangmu is just his pseudonym in the Abyss. He didn't know if he could defeat the Explosive Flames who had been the First Lord for hundreds of years, but he didn't have the slightest fear. He liked this feeling of crazy fighting. Among the masters, he practiced the most crazily. The same is true in the Abyss. He won't waste any time, except for a short rest, he just keeps practicing and fighting, like a machine, never stopping. He wants to become stronger and he wants to go back. Return to Master, return to Xiaoshuang. He almost died every time he challenged a stronger person, but with the help of the 9 transformations of reverse life technique, he was able to escape and become stronger every time. He has experienced the taste of death too many times. Already numb. Death will no longer scare him, it will only excite him. The only thing that can scare him is weakness. There is only helplessness when watching the death of a loved one. Fight. Looking forward to your crazy fight. The Abyss only protects the strong. The Shadow Dragon Lord laughed. The battle below is about to break out. In just an instant, Zhang Mu's body was shrouded in black energy, his eyes completely turned into pitch black, and his previous violent state turned into restrained terror. Boom! The fist was punched out, and there was a dragon roar. A black dragon rushed out. The Lord of Explosive Fire turned into a huge flame giant, throwing countless fireballs condensed with different fires with every movement of his hands, and they hit Zhang Mu densely. Zhang Mu jumped up high, his fists flying. All the fireballs were smashed by him. He turned into a black shadow and shuttled under the attack of the flame giant, and soon found an opportunity to directly punch the explosion lord down. Die! Zhang Mu roared angrily, and 9 black dragons came out. 8 reverse growth lines flashed on his arms. Every time a reverse growth pattern lights up, his strength will increase by 1 point. Boom! The 9 black dragons directly penetrated the body of the flame giant and exploded suddenly. The falling flames condensed into a mace and hammered towards Zhang Mu. 9 transformations of reverse life, 1. Zhang Mu was not afraid and directly resisted with his body. When the mace hit him, it couldn't even break his scales. 2. Zhang Mu took the initiative to attack. With another palm, the demonic energy gathered and knocked down the explosive flame lord again. This time, Lord Explosion's injuries were obviously much more serious, and he did not struggle for a while. 3. The reverse lines on Zhang Mu's body became brighter again. A punch in the air. A big hole was blasted out of the struggling body of the Explosion Lord. The last move is the death of Lord Explosion. Countless abyssal beings watching the battle cheered wildly. Too strong. Is this Lord Frostwood? Every challenge will be much stronger than before. I'm afraid Lord Frostwood will be able to challenge the monarch not long after this time. Who said it wasn't? I remember that Lord Frostwood rose to power in just over a year. Lord Frostwood is a life born for the abyss. Yes. In the abyss, you must have the courage to constantly challenge and become stronger, otherwise you will be surpassed by the latecomers, and if you don't advance, you will die. Zhang Mu's performance convinced countless abyss lives. At the same time, Zhang Mu had come to the dying Lord of Explosion and Flame. How kind he was in the past, how decisive he was in killing now, as long as he had nothing to do with him and complied with the rules of the world's behavior, he could kill them all. If he killed Lord Explosion and Flame, the Abyss world would give him a reward. This is also the motivation for countless Abyss lives to constantly challenge. The rules of the Abyss are to create monarchs who are stronger than the previous generation in this way. Frostwood, you can create miracles. Facing Lord Frostwood who was about to kill him, Lord Explosion and Flame had no resentment in his heart, only felt that he was inferior to others. If he were stronger, the ending would not be like this. He was willing to lose to Lord Frostwood, and he didn't mind dying. The lives eliminated by the rules of the Abyss could only face death. Boom. Thank you. Zhang Mu punched down and wiped out Lord Explosion Flame. The pure Abyss baptism descended, constantly baptizing his Abyss body, making him stronger and driving him to challenge stronger ones. Frostwood. Frostwood. Frostwood is invincible. Countless Abyss lives shouted enthusiastically. But Zhang Mu didn't feel enjoyment, just thought it was noisy. In the past, he envied junior sister Xylee standing under the spotlight and envied the feeling of being held in the clouds. Now he just wanted to stand on the top of the mountain and always look higher. Not enough. Not enough. Zhang Mu's heartbeat was constantly accelerating. Just a Lord of Explosion Flame could no longer satisfy his inner desire. He had a hunch that he would see his master soon. He had to become stronger. Even if he couldn't fight side by side with his master, he had to at least be able to help his master. He was full of thoughts. Zhang Mu suddenly raised his head and looked at the Shadow Dragon Lord on the throne. Shadow Dragon Lord. I want to challenge you. Warm Ti. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 437. Shadow Dragon Lord. I want to challenge you. The magnetic low voice echoed in the abyss. At that moment, it seemed that the whole abyss was quiet. Countless abyss creatures thought they had heard wrong. Challenge Shadow Dragon Lord? Is Lord Frostwood too arrogant? Challenge this Lord. Shadow Dragon Lord looked down at Zhang Mu. Lord Frostwood, I am optimistic about your talent and look forward to your challenge one day. He shook his head, but now the gap between you and me is too big. Zhang Mu looked at him with a firm gaze. Living in the abyss, my goal is the throne of the Lord. Before becoming the strongest monarch, my steps will never stop. There are only two results today. Kill me or be killed by me. Okay. Shadow Dragon Lord laughed. This Lord accepts your challenge. You are qualified to die at my hands. Shadow Dragon Lord was surprised that Lord Frostwood would challenge him, because the continuous challenge of the First Lord and the Monarch has never happened in the entire Abyss world. Even he was a little excited. He has felt the taste of death for a long time. That feeling frightened countless lives, but also drove them crazy and fascinated by it. Dancing on the edge of death is the most wonderful thing in the world. Frostwood. Frostwood. Frostwood, no matter you win or lose, you will always be the miracle of the abyss. Frostwood, I look forward to you becoming a real miracle. Come on, Lord Frostwood. At this moment, the already crazy abyss lives fell into an uncontrollable state of madness, and they shouted the name of Lord Frostwood crazily. In the abyss, only the strong can win respect. Lord Frostwood's performance has won the respect of all abyss lives on the 32nd floor. Looking at the overwhelming shouts of countless lives for Lord Frostwood, the smile on the face of the Shadow Dragon Lord became more intense. Every time a lord challenged him, there would be such a shout. But this time, it was the most enthusiastic. Even he couldn't help but want to shout for Lord Frostwood's courage. Come on, Lord Frostwood, let's fight to our heart's content. The Shadow Dragon Monarch transformed into a grey-white three-clawed dragon, with a huge body hundreds of miles long and covered with scales of different colors. It flickered in the thunder and lightning clouds. It was as mysterious as a shadow, but also with extremely strong oppression. Huh! Zhang Mu took a deep breath. The Shadow Dragon Monarch was much stronger than he had imagined, and the oppression he brought to him was far beyond that of the explosive Flame Monarch. He didn't know if he could beat the Shadow Dragon Monarch, perhaps there was only a very slim hope. But every time he didn't come from that state. I will definitely win. Zhang Mu, who had cultivated a crazy cultivation state since childhood, showed a strong advantage after coming to the abyss. He believed that he would not die here. Demon God Body. This time, Zhang Mu entered a state of complete demonization, leaving only a trace of clarity between life and death. Only in this way can he have a chance to defeat the Shadow Dragon Monarch. Otherwise, the gap is too big, and there is only one way to die. No madness, no life. Madness is the final way out. Whoosh! In an instant, Zhang Mu turned into a black shadow and ran towards the Shadow Dragon Lord. His speed was far faster than when he fought against the explosive Flame Lord. In the blink of an eye, he landed on the huge body of the Shadow Dragon Lord. But as he fell, the Shadow Dragon disappeared. Before he could react, a dragon tail suddenly pulled out from the clouds and mist, directly pulling him away, and smashing several mountains in the distance. The abyss creatures were amazed. They were amazed that the Frostwood Lord had hidden so much strength when fighting against the explosive Flame Lord, and they were even more amazed at the power of the Shadow Dragon Lord, who knocked the powerful Frostwood Lord away with one blow. At the moment Zhang Mu fell into the mountain, the Shadow Dragon Lord did not hold back at all, and opened his mouth to spray a breath of dragon towards the falling Zhang Mu. From the moment he accepted the challenge, only one person was destined to survive. Going all out is also a respect for both sides. Boom. Under the dragon breath, the breath of the Frostwood Lord disappeared. Just as the Shadow Dragon Lord was about to end the battle, a black shadow suddenly emerged from the ground below him and hit him hard. The remaining black gas actually eroded his scales. Whoosh! The gray light turned into scales to counterattack, completely piercing the black shadow, and blood spilled all over the sky, but the black shadow seemed to have completely lost the sense of pain and was not affected at all. Boom! The black shadow hit the same place again, this time directly knocking off a large piece of scales, and the demonic energy also invaded his body. Not only that, the demonic energy was also mixed with a force that was extremely restraining him. The Shadow Dragon Lord endured the severe pain and blasted Zhongmu away again, but found that even the power of the origin of the chaotic universe could not suppress the mysterious restraining force. That thing seemed to be born to be his nemesis. Zhongmu was completely crazy at this time, and there was not much room for thinking. But he knew that his plan worked. The demon god body and the dragon god bone caused considerable damage to the Shadow Dragon Lord, especially the dragon god bone was extremely restraining to dragon creatures. Long Aotian had given him the dragon god bone when he was dying, and now the power of the dragon god bone was gradually showing. The dragon god bone and the 9th turn of the 9 turns of reverse life were his last hope. Come again. Every time he was blown away, Zhongmu would desperately cause some damage to the Shadow Dragon Lord. Even if the Shadow Dragon Lord had a strong vitality, he couldn't stand such a torment, but Zhongmu couldn't stand it even more. After being blown away again, the chaos origin power that belongs to the demigod completely suppressed his demon body. His body was also severely injured. Puff. Zhongmu, who fell into the pit, tried to stand up, but he had no strength at all. His bones were broken, his meridians were broken, and his soul seemed to be torn apart. He was not afraid of pain. Even such pain could not affect his will. He was constantly looking for the last turn of the 9 turns of reverse life. Where is the opportunity between life and death? Can this extreme skill make him a real miracle? The Shadow Dragon Lord did not give him a chance. A more powerful dragon breath swept over, and the violent dragon breath took Zhongmu with it, destroying the entire mountain and river together. Zhongmu was unable to move. He could only feel his body being devoured bit by bit, and his consciousness became more and more blurred. Master! Xiaoshuang! I think I'm going to lose. In the dim light, he seemed to see Master and Xiaoshuang waving at him from a distance, as well as his fellow apprentices, his master's wife, and Long Aotian. And his father and mother whose faces had already blurred. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 438. Is it over? Although Lord Frostwood is powerful, he is still too immature compared to Lord Shadow Dragon. Legends rise and fall too quickly. The glory of Frostwood Lord is short-lived after all. Countless abyssal beings looked at Lord Frostwood who was drowned by the dragon's breath, and sighed from the bottom of their hearts. If Lord Frostwood continued to practice for a while, he might really have a chance to become the new Lord of the Abyss. Shuangmu, you are a respectable opponent, what a pity. The Shadow Dragon Lord also sighed, but there was no slack in the fierce attack. The challenge begins. Only one party is destined to survive. In the haze, Zhongmu saw that the 8 sections of reverse growth marks on his body were fading away bit by bit, and death was eroding his soul. This time, he failed to reverse the situation between life and death. He felt that his body functions had been completely lost, and his final consciousness would also dissipate. Just when the life force was about to be completely cut off, the shattered body was suddenly lifted up by something, which actually spliced the spilled life force bit by bit. The power of their junior sister. The figure of the girl emerged in Zhongmu's mind, the junior sister who always wore a lab coat and wire-rimmed glasses and tinkered with various alchemical substances all day long. The chicken soup that once frightened the entire sect had become his life-saving water today. He remembered that his teacher and his fourth junior brother both said that although junior sister Kinking's chicken soup was terrible to drink, it was a life-saving medicine. The chicken soup was really bitter, and only by exchanging one's life could one taste its sweetness. At this moment, Jongmu finally felt it. But this power is still not enough. Under the dragon's breath of destruction, it cannot last long. Boom! 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 Jongmu's heart was beating. At that moment, he seemed to feel that he was a person in a distant time and space. His girlfriend, who shared the same sentiments as him, was looking forward to his return. I can't die yet. What should Xiaoshuang do if I die? Jongmu, whose pupils were already dilated, suddenly woke up, and his will to survive became much stronger. The power of his heart stirred up the blood in his body, and with the help of the little vitality provided by junior sister Ching Ching just now, he was barely able to put up some defense. He used all his strength to activate the Dragon Divine Bones, which had a restraining effect on the Shadow Dragon Lord, to block the blow. It's just that his mental strength has long been exhausted. The demon body is also eroding his inner consciousness. At this moment, a lotus flower bloomed in his mind, instantly sublimating his spiritual power. Its master. Jongmu was overjoyed. The master took action and gave him a chance to make a comeback. The Dragon Divine Bones erupted with bright golden light, and a huge dragon head rushed out from the dragon's breath. What? The Shadow Dragon Lord was startled. He actually felt a fatal threat. Lord Frostwood had already fallen into death just now, so why did he suddenly burst out with such powerful power? He would never have imagined it. In his eyes, the struggling representative Frostwood Lord also has several off-field aides. One of the off-field aides was even more powerful than him. The abyssal beings who were watching the battle erupted into cheers that made the entire 32 levels of the abyss tremble. They seemed to have seen the scene before, but they had never been so excited as at this moment. A drama of reversal between life and death. Is it going to happen again? Shuangmuo, you really did not disappoint me. The Shadow Dragon was full of fighting spirit and launched a more violent attack on the Frost Tree. Not enough. It's not enough to defeat the Shadow Dragon Lord. Although Jongmu received short-term assistance, he knew that external forces were still external forces, and no matter how powerful his master was, he could not help him produce qualitative changes. Only rely on yourself. Only by transforming again can we defeat the Shadow Dragon Lord. We must never let Master down. Jongmu was covered in blood, and the reverse growth pattern on his body grew again, but this time there was a dark pattern, which was a sign that the 9th pattern was about to be born. 9 turns of reverse life. The 9th turn is the true transformation, like a chrysalis turning into a butterfly. The 9th pattern. Open. Jongmu used all his strength to continuously stimulate the growth of the 9th pattern. The 9th pattern continuously sucks the source of his life. But he didn't care anymore. Because he could feel the power of the origin of chaos calling to him. It was a sign of the demigod realm and the only chance to defeat the Shadow Dragon Lord. Gather. Regroup. When the 9th pattern fully bloomed, Jongmu was finally able to clearly feel the power of the origin of chaos. 9 wanderings between life and death. Any failure at any point could lead to his death. But he succeeded. It is courage that supports luck. Jongmu broke through the dragon's breath, punched out, and the 9 dragons roared in unison, sending the Shadow Dragon Lord flying. For the first time in this fight he had the upper hand. But Jongmu didn't dare to relax at all, even if his ears were full of voices calling his pseudonym, he knew that this was the moment when the battle really began. He came up step by step. The same is true for the Shadow Dragon Lord. It's not that simple to defeat the Shadow Dragon Lord. Shuangmuo, you have brought a surprise to this monarch. The Shadow Dragon Lord laughed wildly. He had not fought so happily for a long time. This is the real happiness, this is the fun of living in the abyss. Shadow Dragon Lord, thank you. Zhang Mu also fell into the pleasure of fighting. The two sides once again entered into a fierce battle. The battle was so fierce that the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, and the mountains and rivers of the 32nd layer of the abyss flowed backwards. The battle between the two monarchs made the entire layer of the abyss fall into a carnival, and even the monarchs of other abysses could not help but come to watch the battle. This battle lasted for a full 10 days. The two sides fought from the throne of the abyss to the end of the abyss, and countless abyss lives risked their lives to watch the battle. The constant battle finally made the two sides tired, but the fighting spirit of both sides became more and more crazy. They could enjoy such a refreshing battle, even if they died, they would have no regrets. Boom! The Shadow Dragon Monarch finally seized the opportunity, and his sharp tail directly pierced into Zhang Mu's body, and the scales burst out, trying to tear Zhang Mu apart completely. And Zhang Mu was even more ferocious. He remembered the scene when Long Aotian died in the battle, and directly pulled the dragon god bone out of his spine, threw it fiercely, and pierced it directly into the huge head of the Shadow Dragon Monarch. Both sides fell to the bottom of the abyss at the same time. Who won? Will they all die? Impossible. If one of the two challengers dies, the other will be baptized by the abyss immediately, and it is impossible for them to die. The rules of the abyss are like this, and the winner will be baptized. So there is no phenomenon of picking up leaks in the abyss. Whoever wins wins. If other abyss creatures want to gain status, they must challenge openly. Because the monarchs of the abyss will be stronger than one another. The bottom of the abyss. The Shadow Dragon Monarch and Zhang Mu fell to the torn ground at the same time. Neither of them had the strength to attack again. They could only hold on to their lives and wait for the other's death. The two sides looked at each other and stared at each other closely. No resentment. Only respect. No matter who wins, the loser will only be grateful for the opponent's full effort. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 10,000 times return. I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 439. Shuang Muo, you win. After a long confrontation, the Shadow Dragon Lord's eyelids drooped and he could no longer hold on. The defeat surprised him. He never thought that Lord Frostwood would challenge him after challenging Lord Explosion, and actually win the position of monarch. Frostwood is truly a wonder of the abyss. Zhang Mu looked at the sullen Shadow Dragon. He no longer had the strength to speak, and just watched the Shadow Dragon Lord's body dissipate little by little. From the sky above the abyss, the purple sky pillar fell and enveloped Zhang Mu. The baptism of the abyss appears. It's a baptism at the level of a monarch. Lord Frostwood won. He really created a miracle in the abyss. It's unbelievable. The Shadow Dragon Lord actually lost. It's like a dream. The baptism of the monarch level will only be given when the Lord successfully challenges the monarch with his life and becomes a new generation of abyss monarch. Therefore, when the abyssal beings saw the appearance of the monarch level baptism, they knew that Zhang Mushan had won. The baptism of the abyss fell. Zhang Mu could feel that the injuries on his body were recovering rapidly, and his body was further condensed. He even felt that he no longer looked like a human being. Except for the heart that still yearns for human beings. All life worlds that the abyss wants to destroy are also willing to accept all life forms to live in this carnival. There are more races in the abyss than all the races in the lowland star. There is no racial effect here, and no life will be discriminated against based on status. There is only the difference between the strong and the weak. There is only the difference between bravery and cowardice. In order to adapt to the rules of the abyss, Zhang Mu has paid too much, but now he is standing at the top of the abyss. The power of the origin of chaos is moving around. Is this the demigod realm? The powerful power made Zhang feel a little dazed when he woke up. He had never thought that before. He was just a stupid bird with mediocre talent and only knew how to work hard. He was actually able to become a powerful person in the demigod realm that the world admired. Destiny is so unfathomable. Whoosh! With the thought in his mind, he flew high into the sky. Countless abyssal beings shouted for him, cheered for him, and welcomed him as the new abyssal monarch. Frostwood Lord! Frostwood Lord! Frostwood Lord! The mountains, oceans, heaven, and earth are all cheering for him, welcoming his birth and welcoming the new Abyss Lord to become the ruler of this layer of abyss. Under him, the half-white and half-black Abyss throne took shape. This is the sign of the Abyss Monarch, who can be blessed by the power of the Abyss world. Only when the monarch is challenged will the rules of the Abyss remain fair. At this moment, the throne is the treatment that the winner should enjoy. From now on, this is the Frostwood Abyss. Zhang looked down at the countless lives in the abyss. The feeling of being high up could make people feel so comfortable and happy. He finally understood why those who had been in high positions for so long were lost. When the whole world surrenders at your feet, when everyone is touting you and cheering for you, you will think that you are the whole world. The worse your xingxing is, the easier it is to get lost in it. Such is the cruel and cold-blooded world of the abyss, where the weak prey on the strong, not to mention Blue Star, who pays more attention to human nature and sophistication. It's no wonder that the strong men in the rebel army believe that they have escaped the category of human beings. When they are strong enough to a certain extent, the racial gap no longer exists. Boom! Zhang fell from high altitude. At that moment, he was afraid, fearing that he would disown his master and Xiaoshuang. He still remembered that his purpose was to protect his master and Xiaoshuang and fulfill his responsibility as a senior brother. Lord Frostwood, congratulations. There is a phantom appearing on the sky, and the only one who can directly project onto other levels of abyss is the Abyss Lord. Other abyssal beings are not qualified for cross-layer communication. The Frostwood Lord created the miracle of the abyss. I hope I can have the opportunity to compete with Lord Frostwood in the future. The birth of an Abyss Lord is a major event for the entire Abyss. Often other Abyss Lords will send their blessings and take a look at potential opponents. It is also common in the Abyss for Abyssal Lords to challenge each other. Only the monarchs of the last 8 layers of the Abyss are the most mysterious and powerful. The Abyss has evolved for countless years, and the beings in those layers of abyss have never successfully challenged it. Sitting in that position are always the 8 monarchs. The Frostwood Lord is amazing. Another figure appeared in the sky. The appearance of this figure attracted countless exclamations, because this was one of the last 8 abyss monarchs, the Underworld Lord from the Underworld Abyss. Lord Huanquan is one of the oldest monarchs in the abyss and has unfathomable strength. It is rumored that no challenger in history could survive a single move in the hands of the Lord of the Underworld. Lord Huanquan, are you here to congratulate me too? Zhang was also quite surprised. This ancient monarch had not shown up for hundreds of years, but he appeared again to congratulate him, which made him a little flattered. You deserve my congratulations. Lord Huanquan smiled and said, I came to the Abyss world from a narrow escape from the Blue Star world, crossed the sea and turned into an Abyss life. It took me less than 2 years to fully adapt to the rules. Challenge all the way, without fear of life or death, and finally become a generation of Abyss monarch. For a human race to be able to do this, the deeds of the Lord of Shuangmu are truly remarkable. As soon as these words came out, countless abyssal beings were in an uproar. Shock! Frostwood Monarch is a human from the Blue Star world? A weak human has become their monarch. Zhang was even more nervous. He didn't expect that his human identity had been seen through long ago. Huanquan Lord smiled and said, Shuangmu Lord, don't be so nervous. The rules of the Abyss never exclude any life. What about humans? You can fight your way out of the abyss, that's your ability. There are 108 monarchs in the abyss, and there are many lives in other worlds. Look at the lives in the Frostwood abyss. Who dares to despise you because you are a human? As long as you are strong enough, you will always be the king of the abyss. What does Huan Quan Lord mean by telling me this? Zhang Mu stared at him, with no fear in his eyes. No meaning. Huan Quan Lord said, I just want to tell Shuangmu Lord that the Abyss world will soon be connected to the Blue Star world. I hope Shuangmu Lord can understand his position. The will of the Abyss world will devour all the weak. After that, Huan Quan Lord's figure disappeared. Zhang Mu was stunned and fell into deep thought. At the same time, Blue Star, Dingai King City, the top of the world tree. As Su Xian was talking about his daily life with Lin Suiying, a system prompt sounded in his mind, and then a very powerful force suddenly burst out from his body. In an instant, all the demigods at the border of the sky felt it. All the strong men looked towards the direction of Dingai King City. 10,000 times return, I am a mentor in the Novice Village. Author, Mingtong Shui. Chapter 440. You broke through. Lin Suiying looked at her husband in surprise. He could break through just by chatting about daily life. There was probably no one else in this world except Su Xian. When Su Xian heard the system prompt, he was also surprised. The eldest disciple Zhang Mu actually became the monarch of the abyss. His first requirement for Zhang Mu was to stay alive, and the second requirement was to become stronger. He didn't expect that this disciple known as the King of Involution would actually kill his way to the monarch level. Almost every once in a while, Su Xian could feel that Zhang Mu's spirit fell into an extremely depressed state. It can be seen how many times Zhang Mu experienced life and death breakthroughs in the abyss. This eldest disciple who once had the worst talent but showed amazing brilliance after being cultivated finally reached the pinnacle and became the strongest among the disciples. He was on the verge of death and entered the alien world alone, but he fought his way out. Even Su Xian, the master, had to admire Zhang Mu. As Zhang Mu broke through and became the monarch of the abyss, Su Xian, who had already reached the limit of the king, finally couldn't suppress it, and the huge energy returned. Boom! The sound of a melodious ancient bell rang between heaven and earth. A layer of golden light fell from the sky, and the road to the heavenly steps appeared above the blue star. The road to the heavenly steps, accompanied by the sound of an ancient bell. It was the vision of the birth of a demigod. In that direction, such a terrifying aura, it is really the Thousand Machine King Su Xian. The Thousand Machine King is about to break through. The strongest king in the history of the two worlds, a super strong man who is far ahead of other kings, is this monster who cannot be measured by common sense finally going to become a demigod. I am really looking forward to it. The strongest demigod in the history of the two worlds, Vivian, condensed 76 layers of the heavenly steps. Can the Thousand Machine King break this record? Countless strong men discussed it with excitement. It seemed that Su Xian's breakthrough was a blessing for the entire Blue Star. After the war between the two worlds, Su Xian's position had long been unshakable, even the Blue Star Alliance remained absolutely obedient to all of Su Xian's opinions. All the strong men focused their attention on Dingai King City and the figure standing on the top of the world tree. Even the demigods of Lulan Star were no exception. At this moment, they seemed to have forgotten the pain of defeat. Under the gaze of countless strong men from the two worlds, Su Xian smiled, carefully helped Lin Suiying to the side, and caressed the baby in her belly lovingly. Wife, wait for me here. Take our children to see how great their father is. Yeah. Lin Suiying smiled and touched her belly. Children, watch carefully. Your father is the strongest man in the world. You must become as strong as your father in the future. There seemed to be some movement in the belly. The children are moving. Lin Suiying smiled, you should go quickly. It will be bad if you miss the best time to break through. The children and I are waiting for you here. Come on, Dad. Xylee also came to the top of the world tree and shouted loudly. Su Xian nodded. He took a step forward and came to the sky steps in the air. The ancient bell made a louder sound. The long-lasting sound of the ancient bell seemed to resound throughout the two worlds, and everyone could hear the sound of the ancient bell. The hearts of countless strong men could not help but stop with the ringing of the ancient bell. Is the first step so strong? Is this the true strength of the Thousand Machine King? We are far behind. With just one step, countless demigods and top king ceiling strongmen felt a huge pressure. The heavenly step slowly condensed. Su Xian stepped again. The second heavenly steps condensed, followed by the third, fourth, and fifth layers. In just a moment, the 21st heavenly steps condensed. All demigods habitually looked at the lowest record holder, who buried his head directly in the ground. Every time someone broke through, it was his social death time. Rather than becoming the weakest demigod, it is better to stay in the comfortable king ceiling realm. At least he is a genius in people's mouths and respected wherever he goes. And now, he is pulled out and whipped every few days. Compared with the strongest king ceiling Thousand Machine King in history, he is even more like a waste. The moment he stepped on the first heavenly step, the ringing of the ancient bell was several times louder than his 21st step. The other demigods smiled and continued to look at the heavenly steps. 30 levels. 40 levels. 50 levels. The 50 levels represent a threshold, but Su Xian did not stop at all. He easily stepped onto the 51st level, followed by the 52nd level, the 53rd level. The speed of the heavenly steps condensation did not slow down, but became faster and faster. Soon the 60th level was condensed. There were originally only 15 demigods above the 60th level of the heavenly steps in the two worlds. Later, the great demon King Xiao Wei and the King of Wuanbaisha reached 17. It can be seen how difficult the threshold of the 60th level is. But all this was like a decoration in front of Su Xian. He easily crossed the 60th level. 61, 62, 63. Every step that followed seemed to step into the hearts of the demigods. They knew that they would be surpassed by the Thousand Machine King. This was already destined. They just wanted to know how big the gap between them and the Thousand Machine King was. It was a completely unreachable distance. There was still a little hope of catching up. The 70th level. In the brief moment of thinking, Su Xian had already stepped onto the 70th level of the heavenly stairs. Currently, there are only 4 people in the two worlds who have reached the 70th level. Vivian of the Asian Dragon clan is on the 76th floor. Tianbaiyu of the Human clan is on the 73rd floor. Moira of the Elf clan is on the 72nd floor. Xiao Wei of the Human clan is on the 70th floor. Thousand Machine King Su Xian easily reached the 70th floor, and then took consecutive steps. 71st. 72nd. 73rd. 74th. Too fast. It's outrageous. Even cheating is not that fast. The demigods were dumbfounded, and the sound of the ancient bell resounded in their hearts. The ancient bells above the 70th floor can be heard clearly, as if they were right in front of them, ringing in their ears, causing resonance in the whole world. Not only Blue Star. Even Lulan Star was shaking with the sound of the ancient bell. The 79th floor. In the blink of an eye, Su Xian broke the history of the two worlds, and there was no intention of stopping. Vivian looked at the scene and was shocked. Too strong. With Su Xian here, the races of Lulan Star have already been doomed to fail. Yes. If it weren't for the restrictions of the contract, we might not be able to escape death. It can only be said that the will of the chaotic universe favors Blue Star more. In this era, it has created such a powerful professional. Fate. The demigods of Lulan Star side. Perhaps fate has already told them the answer. I think he may not only break history, but also create a record that cuts off the ancient and modern roads, a record that future generations can only look up to forever. From the moment Su Xian stepped onto the 80th floor, all the strong men lost the desire to compete. Su Xian's back seemed to be invisible to them.